Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a books beside my bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. We are going to be talking about 7 books, so strap in and yeah, let's jump into it. The first book that I finished this week was A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This was a reread for me and I was listening to it on audio as I got the audio from Libby and I just decided, what the hell, it's time I reread this book because I love it so much. If you are unfamiliar with this book or this series, it is set in a near future where humans have gone back to a simpler way of living because years earlier, the robots that they had created to help them with their daily lives basically decided to walk away from humanity. And they walked off into the woods and the forests and were never seen from again. And really, this is one of those books where, you know, humans actually do the right thing and they realize that, you know, there's a reason why that happened. And our main character is a tea monk. So their job is to travel through local communities with tea and offer people the opportunity to stop and to talk and to let go of their burdens. And at the start of the book, our main character has just taken up this role. They don't really know all that much about it. And then we jump forward a little bit where they've been doing the job for a while, but they're starting to feel very unfulfilled by it themselves, which they find ironic for a tea monk. And so on a whim, they go off on this little side journey on the way to their next destination where they stumble across a robot called Moscap who has offered to be the first contact with humans in a very long time. It is just such a beautiful little story. It was so nice to go back and revisit it. So now I'm going to have to read the second book on audio because I just got all the cozy feelings from it because it's the ultimate cozy sci-fi kind of story. Another audiobook I listened to, and this one I just was randomly scrolling on Libby and saw it and had put in a request for it, and it is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. So this one is a few years old and it's kind of like a futuristic western set in the US. We are following Esther, who is running away from her family. So in this world, it's gone very much back to a patriarchal society, and the only way women can kind of be safe and travel alone is to become a librarian, and librarians are allowed to travel to and from communities delivering the approved books. So this world is very, very tightly controlled. And while the librarians that she is traveling with welcome her and accept her, they have an apprentice, Sai, who is a little bit more reluctant to embrace Esther into their midst. And then when the librarians also bring back a few more people to travel with them, not as librarians, but as travelers who need safe passage, things get a little bit dicey because one of the passengers is not who they seem. And this is very much about political upheaval. It is about patriarchy. It is about how governments and organized groups tightly control materials and can also make the links to banned books. It is a novella-length story. It probably would have benefited from being a little bit longer just to flesh out everything, but it was a really interesting story and I'm glad I picked it up because I really didn't know all that much about it. It's also queer, so that was a huge bonus. Then I read Her Vicious Beasts by E.P. Bali, which is the prequel to their ongoing series, and this one was the Star Jar pick, I think, for this month. My friends who have read this love this series, and so I think I said in my reset, I didn't know where I would fall with this one, and I still honestly don't know where I fall with this novella. I really love the concept of it. So it is a why choose monster shifter romance kind of story. Our main character is Aurelia. She is a shifter, but her shifter abilities are very unique and you kind of don't figure out what she is until the end of this novella. Her father is a very powerful shifter. He is the head of his clan and his clan are snake shifters, and he is very patriarchal in his beliefs. He believes very much in controlling his daughter, and while he's let her have latitude, he has decided that suddenly, even though previously she has had no worth to him, she does have worth, and she is forced to work for another head of a shifter clan to heal one of his prisoners because she has healing magic. She thinks that once all this is done, she's going to be free to go back to her life. She's planning to move away and away from her father's influence, except of course he blindsides her at the end of this novella. Now, the why choose element comes in because she is fated to be mates with 5 other shifters. And there's a ceremony in this world where people find out who their fated mate is supposed to be. And she's supposed to be mated to 5 people, and 3 of those men are in the dungeons where she's healing the prisoner for this other guy. Now, it does feature a forced marriage in here, not to any of her mates. Everything was going well. I was enjoying the story. I was intrigued. I was curious to see where it was going to go. And then something happens and her father somehow manages to convince the 3 mates who are obsessed with her that she has tried to kill them. And so they are vowing revenge on her. No, because I refuse to believe that those three characters could be so dumb, but clearly they are. While I would probably have continued the series, I don't know if I'm going to be, and I have been told that they get over that thing straight away, but I'm like, they're obsessed with her. They were there when she was forced to marry someone, and they were, you know, ready to kill the guy, and suddenly they're going to turn on her? I don't know. So that's probably not for me. I hate it when that little thing happens. I know it's a prequel novella. I know it's not the main story, but the setup is there. Then I read The Dichotomy of Angels by N.R. Walker. I can't remember how I stumbled across this one, but like N.R. Walker and angels, just please give it to me. So this one is about Nathaniel and Chasen, and they are both angels. And what I found really interesting was the discussion around angels, how the angels work, how they intersect with religion, but how other religions also intersect with this world. Like it was really interesting. Nathaniel and Chasen are kind of fated to be together, except Nathaniel has been denying this for a very long time because it was something that happened, and basically it has ruined his faith in the angelic race and everything like that. And so he has spent a lot of centuries working in the equivalent of hell, also a really cool concept in this book, to essentially punish himself. And suddenly the other angels, particularly sort of the higher ups, can no longer stand by this, because the longer that Nathaniel and Chasen are apart, the dicier things get, because it's not often that angels are fated to be together. And so they're not quite sure what happens if nothing comes of it, but also they're not sure what happens if Nathaniel ever decides that he wants to break this bond. And Chasen is the most precious angel ever, who is just head over heels for Nathaniel. And the two of them are sent to work on a case on Earth where they have to be human because they're on Earth. They are undercover as a queer married couple working in a kindergarten. And when I tell you that the scenes of them in the classroom are utterly adorable, I can't really say that they're realistic, but they're utterly adorable, like disgustingly so. That was just so much fun. Along the way, the two of them, you know, they're in forced proximity. They have to sort things out. Nathaniel needs quite a few kicks up the butt about his relationship and how he feels, and to work out his issues before he loses the one thing that he really wants. So this one is very dramatic. There's a lot of ups and downs in this relationship, so it's not going to be for everyone, but I was just excited to find another angel story that I didn't hate. So that's a bonus for me. Then I read two Tal Bauer books because I couldn't wait for the week of the Queerlit Readathon. I read The Murder Between Us and The Grave Between Us by Tal Bauer. These are books 1 and 2 in the Noah and Cole series. Both Noah and Cole work for the FBI. Noah is a special agent. I think he's second in command at a small FBI branch in Des Moines. Cole is a FBI profiler and he works for the BAU, and he's sent to Des Moines when there is a suspected serial killer and they need help. But to make matters complicated, at the very start of The Murder Between Us, Noah is in Las Vegas for an FBI conference, and while he's there, he decides to go down to a bar because he's always been attracted to men, but he's never really been able to articulate that and to be able to do anything about it because he's always come from a small town. He's worried about what people in the town will say about him. The whole thing just makes him nervous as all get out. And so he's sitting at a bar and he gets hit on by this guy who they just have this great connection. They spend all night talking. They go out to a jazz bar. They end up having this amazing one night. And then they have plans to meet up the next night, but Noah is called back to Des Moines because of this serial killer case. The guy obviously is Cole. They've had this one night stand. Cole is really upset that Noah doesn't turn up the next night and doesn't call. And then Cole is sent to Des Moines. And so they, are thrust into this situation, and Noah is already freaking out by the fact that he's questioning his sexual identity. He is trying to figure out what that all means to him. And then Cole walks into the room in the middle of a case where he is the lead agent. And the whole thing is messy, but so worth it in the way that Tal Bauer always writes these relationships. So that's The Murder Between Us. And then The Grave Between Us, they're already in an established relationship. They are thrust into a case that Cole was once the lead profiler on. And it was a really messy case for him. And it has serious implications for him in the present day because he has things he hasn't dealt with from it. And so that has implications for their relationship. Noah was married and has a teenage daughter. She is absolutely, utterly delightful in this book series. She has just recently come back to live with Noah because she's a teenage girl and she's clashing with her mother, and they just feel like maybe it will help settle her down just to try this. And so she becomes enamored with Cole, and their relationship is just adorable as well. So Tal Bauer never misses, and that's why I read that in the middle of the week, because I am just so indecisive. And as you're going to hear when I talk about this next book, like, I should have loved this, and I just feel meh about it because that's the kind of reading week that I'm having. So I'm glad that I read Bauer, because it just at least gave me that perk where I'm like, I know I'm going to love his books. I know I love his writing, and I've had success. I've had success in the week. So then I read What Are the Odds by R.M. Virtue. So this was one of the books that I read for the tri-chapter queer edition. And this is the story of Elena and Kai. It's a contemporary romance. And while the main characters themselves aren't queer, both the author and some side characters identify on the queer spectrum. And Elena and Kai are, well, they're best friends. So they were best friends for a long time. Kai was married to Elena's sister, and Elena's sister cheated on him. And so the marriage dissolved, and then his brother also passed away. So Elena and Kai haven't really seen each other for a long time. And then at the start of the book, they cross paths unexpectedly. And so they reconnect and they restart their friendship. Elena has just received a scholarship to go study dance across the country in San Francisco, and she is dreading telling her mum and her sister because they are highly dependent on her. They, in particular her sister, make no qualms of putting her down and making her feel selfish for trying to chase her dream. Because if she goes, then Elena's sister has to deal with things and grow up as an adult, because she is an adult. She's pregnant. She's destroyed one marriage. She's pregnant with the guy that she cheated on, and she's relying on her sister to basically be there and do the things that she needs her to do. And Elena is ready to move on and to follow her dreams. So there is a very toxic family dynamic through the whole book. So just be aware of that. Elena and Kai fall back into their friendship, and then they admit their attraction and their feelings for one another. And then from then on, if you like a steamy book, this is the book for you, because basically every other chapter they're having sex. And I don't know what it was, but this week that just wasn't what I needed. So it was fine. Like, the writing was good. I like R.M. Virtues. The story itself is fine. I don't mind a messy family dynamic because I think there's something interesting there to explore. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I wasn't feeling it. I should have loved it more than I probably did, but I was really appreciative that in the story that Elena does actually just pursue her dreams. She goes off and she's fully supported by Kai. Like, he's a fully supportive partner in this, and that is amazing. But of course their relationship is messy because he is her sister's ex-husband. But pretty much everyone admits that Kai and Naya were not a good match, and that Elena and Kai are actually just wonderful together. But yeah, it's a messy contemporary romance. Maybe that's why I'm just not feeling it at the moment. I don't know what I want. And then the last thing that I'll briefly mention, because I'm not actually finished it, is I'm currently reading Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm actually listening to the audio, so I'm hopefully going to finish that this weekend. Again, contemporary romance between two people who find themselves forced together, and they're sharing an apartment together after their fiancés dump them for each other. Again, complicated and messy. And that's it for this wrap up this week. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read any of these books, or are you planning on picking any of them up? Otherwise, feel free to share something you're reading and loving this week, or leave let's be a bit morbid this week, leave a gravestone emoji down below, since I did read The Grave Between Us. I have one more week of school, so by the time this video goes up, I will have started the last week of the school year, and then I'm on break for 5.5-ish weeks. Hallelujah. I need the break, and I have a whole bunch of things planned, so lots of exciting reading things happening in the next couple of weeks. Yay! I hope that wherever you're on the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.